Hello, it's Oliver Pett here from Mechanical Creations. If you're new to this video, I suggest go and watch parts 1 and 2 before you watch this one. Okay, we're now at a stage to start filling out the top part of the box. I built enough components to actually start testing the sculpture. We'll slowly start putting things together. I have made this hole bigger. I was looking at it and I'm thinking I've done something wrong here. The hole was too narrow. So I have changed the hole. I've made it a lot bigger. First of all, I'm going to put the body in. This requires 2 brass screws. There is an order I have to do this in. I've got 2 shafts to put in, which I will put in through the box. This needs to go on first, so I need to assemble this. So I have 2 parallel arms that are screwed in to the back here, so the screw fits snugly into that. There you go. Now this will screw into the housing that sits on the box, as I'll show you in a minute. Let's get that screwed in. Okay, here we go. Okay, we'll put that in. So this shaft here is slotted into this part. So as that rotates, this gantry will swing back and forth. Again, that fits nice and snug. We put the little crank on, and that's kind of like a little dry bearing that fits on the crank. Now we need to add this part. This here, I've made a mistake there. I cut it the wrong way around. This is PTFE plastic, better known as Teflon. I've drilled the holes into the timber, so I've pushed that into the slots, and then I've drilled holes into the Teflon where I will insert the shaft, so it will slide nicely. This slot here is for this crank, which will make it go back and forth really quickly. Let's get that in. Now we need to put in the shafts. I have to do this in order. So that's the bearing, and I'll show you. That sits in the slots. Change its position. Okay, so through the back here, there fits the bearing in there like so. And we'll just let that hang there for a minute while I get the second one in. Turn this the other way. Now I can slowly draw those in. Gantry, push that in. Okay, it goes through 2 collets, so I can tighten those up. We have another bearing here that fits on the other side. You know, I'm not going to tighten it up or put a grub screw in at the moment because it's tight enough that I don't think it's going to move at the moment. Here goes the other bearing. And obviously these shafts here are to support the gantry and to support this part as well. So that works nice. Happy with that. Now I need to insert these parts. They're screwed in. This one goes in the back. Now you can see I've already tested this component with its counterpart. For some reason it was sitting a bit wonky, so I've just had to put a little bit of paper on either side just to bring it square. So I'll need to look into why it's done that. So this is quite a complex part, and I've done this on the CNC machine. Okay, it's tightened up. Okay, what I'll need to do is pull this gantry back. Let's put the head on. Okay, we're going to start adding the component that goes into here. Let's put the head on. Let's put the head back. If you can remember, in the first part of the video, we made the sculpture. I've just added a couple of little grub screws because I've got a feeling I'll be taking this on and off, which fits in there, which we'll tighten up now. That will fit on there. What I need to do now is draw this through here. I'll just show you the setup before I get it all through. So if you remember before, I've got a shaft going through this part, and now I'm adding some of these little bearings, and that will be capped off with this. That has a really important part to play, and I will show you that later. That will fit into here. On the other side is also a little crank, and again, that's important. That plays a part in lifting the toothbrush up and down. This is the fun bit because it's not easy, if I remember rightly, to draw this through. First, that goes in through the back. I think this would be a lot easier if I had two pairs of hands. At the moment I'm struggling getting this shaft through, well, not through this, but trying to get that in place as I draw the shaft through. So what I'm going to do is, I've got a temporary bit of tubing here. I'm going to put that through and it will hold it. And as I draw the shaft through, it will just push that out the way, hopefully. And it's, oh, that's gone. Right, okay, that's worked. I'm going to take these bearings, one in, and that is followed by a bigger washer. Those washers are oversized, so it actually just keeps everything in place. And then I have this component which fits on like that. Plonk that in there. Hand goes on top. This is where the adjustment is important. Okay, so this is how this mechanism works. I spoke to you in the first video about this toothbrush needs to stay on a level plane. So in order to do that, we have this mechanism here down into the shaft, which keeps it level as it goes back and forth. This part here is where it holds the toothbrush in position. Now the weight of this toothbrush, let's tighten it up so you understand. First of all, the mechanism behind here I need to tighten up. And again, it's awkward. So that's that tightened. We need to position this toothbrush while I tighten this. Okay, there you go. We're keeping this toothbrush on a level plane. The weight of the toothbrush keeps it tipped forward. This mechanism here is restricting it from going any further back, as you can see. So as it rotates, it keeps it all level. But what it also does is it allows the toothbrush to tip all the way back, as you can see. Now if I turn it around, you'll see the mechanism that tips the arm back is this one here. As I lift that up, it tips the toothbrush in the upwards position. Now I do have a part for that. That is screwed into here, and that's what tips the toothbrush up and down. I'm not going to put that in just yet. We need to make sure it's actually working properly, that it brushes around that jaw. So let's give it a little whirl. Right, that didn't go very well. As you can see, he's not going that well around the jaw, and I can see the problem already. It's the pivot point is too high. This pivot point needs to come down. The higher it is, the less movement I get. The lower it is, the more movement I get. So I need to bring it down. The problem being, it's very high at the moment, but when it comes to this bottom point here, the forearm will come down. So I am restricted slightly, as you can see. I could possibly bring it down another 5mm. So I think possibly we'll have to move the pivot point down even more. So that will mean making a new arm. So we're going to get rid of the ball joint, and I've created a new joint. What I can do now, the pivot point's going to be not part of the forearm. I can adjust it up and down without having to move that now. That now will be connected to that. It will fit somewhere under the arm, but we can adjust that. Right, let's put it all on and see how we get on. These components here, this is the arm, the forearm. I've just got rid of them for the moment because they're actually driving me mad. I was experimenting, was having problems with the toothbrush. As it was going round, the toothbrush kept going up all the time and then coming back down. I was doing lots of adjustments, things weren't working. I end up getting rid of the forearm and replacing it with some brass strip there. Put these back on eventually. It's just more to help me to see what the problem was. But what I had found out, it was this part here, and I'll demonstrate with this Lego what was happening. So if you can imagine, if it's perfect, this bit here, yep, it runs parallel to the bottom piece. I think what was happening was it was slightly off. As it was going that way, the toothbrush was rising up. So what I've done is I've drilled another hole slightly to the right of the old one. It's working now, but what it has done is it's slightly overcompensated. So now it's rising at the front. So that's something I really need to be aware of. Okay, I need to stop now. I really need to start making molds of all the character pieces, especially the head. It's kind of stopping me from testing the head and arm mechanism. He's just too heavy because obviously he's made of solid timber. So I've just decided to mold everything. I've also made some extra pieces. So I've made some extra detail. This is a sink with a tap. I'll have another tap there as well, but I'll just make multiples of this tap. I'm sanding it all down, and then I'll give it a spray of primer and then give it another final sanding down. Now that takes a bit of time, the moulding process, because I have to wait for the silicone to cure. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to strip down the box, treat the timber. I'm also going to treat all the components and clean up any brass work, and then we can kind of put it all together again and start slowly testing it. And also I can paint the character as well. Thank you for watching, and join me on the last part 4, where I'll finally have the automaton complete.